Yes, of course. So, hello everyone, I'm András, I work at Andego, and we recently did a fraud detection project. We implemented the whole thing in R, so I will stick to R mostly. Well, I can see the slides, so I will just move on. So the first thing that after the contract, we promised the client to, if we get the data that that the client promised to give us daily, on daily basis, then on daily basis we will give him several features computed about the insurance claim. The client wanted to have a really comfortable system, which meant that the insurance firm just upload the data to an FTP server, and then the next morning getting an email with the new data about the new claims, and of course the company had a different system. Wow, I can actually say that. Okay, so they had another program, and we had to upload some process data to their FTP server. So we needed to do all this in R, including getting the data through FTP, to identifying customers because they didn't have any customer identification. We had to connect to external and internal databases, and create an Excel file. It was a pretty good task, and we sent it in R and then upload the results in FTP. So this was basically the data flow I told you about. So first, we tried to create the databases. First, we had some problems because one of us used a Windows machine and one of us used a Ubuntu machine. This meant that we were prepared for character encoding problems and file path problems, but we could manage that. What we didn't, what we weren't prepared for was the MySQL package's strange behavior, because we used DB list tables function to list all the table names, and on Windows it gave us lowercase names, and on Ubuntu it didn't. So it was a bit of code debugging there. You should be prepared for that. Another problem was that we sometimes lost the connection to the local database, not just the remote database. So we came up with a solution to create a variable inside the function, but we created the variable, we exported the variable to the global environment. I don't know how many of you know this double arrow sign and how many of you use them. Could you put up your hands? Okay, thank you. So yes, the external database was another challenge, because you had to use SSH tunnel. And first, of course, we tried with creating a different tunnel in a different terminal, and then just use the R as the external connections would be a local database. It worked, but this way R couldn't manage that connection properly. So we tried to manage the connection in R with the system command. It didn't work. We couldn't find a way. So if anyone can tell me how can someone manage SSH connections from R, please tell me in the cafe break or something. But other than that, we had no great problems. So we have the connections. Let's download the data from the FTP server. We found that, of course, you can read FTP data from R, the base R, but we had authentication, which wasn't implemented in the base package. So we used the RCURL package. I highly recommend it. It's really handy a lot of times. Yeah, but after we get the data, we had to clean it because although it was automatically generated, it was generated by scripts made by people, which meant that we had some really strange errors, like headers in column names in the middle of the file, or files with zero data, not even the header in them. So we ended up creating a unique parser for those files. Another problem when you directly cleaning the data, I mean handling character strings and checking variables that you can easily run out of memory. So we came up with the solution to use the system command to run a new R session, which used the data cleaning script. This way, when the data cleaning script ended, all the used memory became free. While if we just if we would use the source command to run the script, and after remove all the objects and use the garbage collector, we couldn't get back all the memory we needed. So it's another useful lesson from that. Who knows where is this picture from? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, great. So those of you who don't know, this is from Back to the Future 2, when Jessica Parker meets her older self. And I chose this picture because they are the same person, exactly. And this is what we were trying to do with different records to connect. And this is what the feeling I had when I wrote the fifth version of it. So what was the problem? If you had to find the same people in different databases, you have some features, basic features. You have to check the name, the birthday, the address, or the mother's name. They are pretty basic, but there are a lot of missing data from them. So we tried to find some minimal criteria to match them. So we decided to use 3 of the 4 features, but in different combinations. It meant 3 different merges, which was also pretty heavy on memory, but we could manage it with data.table. Also, data.table has a mesh.data.table function, but it's much less efficient and much slower than their original indexing. So it is worth to dive into the data table package. Also, we should be able to manage typos. Don Johnson and John Johnson may be the same person, but we didn't find a memory a solution which is easy on memory for this task. So again, if anyone knows anything, please tell me. So this is a an example what we wanted to achieve with our script. We have the first and the two records, which are not the same person on our criteria. But after we had the third record, we could connect them. So for this, we used iGraph. I really like iGraph actually, but it doesn't really fit in the memory we had. So we had to do a lot of effort to shrink the data to the size where we were able to manage the created graph. After we created the graph, it was pretty easy. We just extracted the components and gave an ID for each. So after this step, we had every data. We computed the variables. Boring thing. It wasn't exactly challenging because R is prepared for that. So after that, I tried to create an Excel file with conditional formatting, which was much more difficult than I thought. So first, I used the XLSX package, which is great for handling Excel files. Creating the workbook and adding data frames is easy and pretty straightforward. But adding formatting to the cells is a hassle, really. I ended up with a solution that used a lot of for loops. I chose every sheet, I chose every row, I chose every cell in the row, and tried to apply a cell style, which wasn't as easy as I thought. And days of browsing Stack Overflow and Google, I couldn't find an easy solution. This was the best I could achieve. And of course, save as soon as possible, as well as your code, every time. So what we learned? First, it's easier to use the same operating system for every developer because it may break things. Never trust incoming data, even if it's automatically generated, because it was made by scripts, which was made by people. So yeah, R is great, but much greater if you use the system function and just export different tasks to different processes. Use data.table is really great for a large amount of data if you have a small amount of memory. And yeah, we did it in R. It's great. We will try to expand them and make it much more better. So thank you for being here.